Hey, it's AK coming at you from T-Bay where the giant sleeps, and today on AudioVision we are talking about education. So, let's get educated. There are so many awesome ideas on the planet today. I mean, people are taking education to another level. I don't even know how to start this. I mean, I just heard the other day that you can actually get, I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale or one of those like super awesome schools that everyone, wants to pay lots of money to go to. You can actually get a online education from one of those places for free. Like all the courses are for free online. You don't get a diploma, but you can do every course for free. I think that's pretty amazing. Like, sure, you don't have the diploma at the end of the day and can't say that you went to Yale or Harvard or whatever the heck it's called, but you can gain all the information for free. That is where, we've been waiting to get to this point for how long now? But we gotta, allow that to trickle down, like our economy's supposed to do. We can't allow information to pool up in bank accounts. I mean, in schools. We have to bring it down to the community level, and we have to do this in a fashion that allows young people to, instead of fall in line, to find themselves. They have to be interested in school if we expect them to learn anything. And if they're not interested, a lot of kids are interested, but I've seen some kids just not enjoy school at all. They just don't like anything about it. They don't ever want to go. Every day is a pain in the butt for the parents because they got to get them ready and drop them off at a place they don't want to go. And this may or may not be the school's fault, but I don't want to blame the school or the teachers. I want to stop blaming, period. I think it's just the outdated ideas that we need to sit in rows and learn one way. Don't get me wrong, my kids go to an awesome school, and this is changing rapidly. The stuff that some of these teachers are telling me and some of the stuff that takes place in the school makes me feel so good. I'm just oh, okay, awesome, it's changing. You don't actually have to go out there and physically make the change yourself, especially with angst. You just have to think about it, talk about it, share your ideas, and not saying that they're taking my ideas, but it feels like the ideas that I've found online in countries in Northern Europe and stuff like that that have worked, they're starting to come here. And that makes me feel good. That makes me go, okay, cool, we're paying attention, we're becoming whole. And it just needs to happen a little swifter, because some parents are still complaining, and they don't want to drop their kids off all day long, period. They want to participate in the growth of their children's life. They remember what it was like to not see their parents all day long. And yeah, you can sing the song, oh, daddy wasn't there to change my underwear or whatever, poor me. But at the same time, if your parents aren't able to guide you because they're constantly trying to, achieve monetary value and assets just to keep your dwelling, then how can you form a real relationship with them unless they had the understanding from their parents that, you got to make the most of each moment. You got to, at some point throughout the day, you got to educate yourself enough to come home and have something cool to do with your kids for that, couple hours you get to spend with them every day. And as our economy tightens, it's getting harder and harder and harder to have, really good paying full-time jobs available for all people. Some people are working 6 part-time jobs, and their life is completely spread out and it's complicated for them. However, economy was last episode, education is this episode. What might need to happen in order to make kids have more fun in school is streamlines. We need to streamline people into what they're already interested in. If they have an interest in building things, then we need to curve the math and the language towards building things for that group of kids and narrow it down so that you have 2 teachers for 10 kids, not 1 teacher for 30. It becomes complicated. Yes, we have, I think they call them ECUs now, and those are teachers' assistants. But in the same token, they're not getting paid as much as the teachers, but they're dealing with just as much of a workload. And that needs to balance as well. That's another economic talk. That was the last episode where we were trying to shift the economy from money to moneyless. And, it's a complicated thing to understand, but hopefully in future discussions we'll be able to open it up. Anyways, education is so important, and it needs to be made available for all people so that we get the right people in the right industries. You want passionate, hardworking individuals, then educate them for free. Don't make them go in debt or wonder how to figure out how to fill out government forms, just so they can potentially have the chance to get funded to go to school so that they have to pay that money back later on. That's just a whole other headache that really slows things down and makes it so we have less capable people everywhere. Think about, instead of separating reading and math, like right from day one, you have a project in JK where kids get to build a fort in the middle of the class. And each of them get a card with, just a couple words, one sentence on it. Yes, you still got to practice the values and values. Yeah, we all need values. Vowels, and practice the alphabet and practice those types of things. But in the actual reading process, give them the sentence with a teacher to guide them through it with a little math equation like 1 + 1 = 2 or whatever it may be, and then show them the two parts. You take this number one, and number one, you bring it together, it's two parts, and then you show them, and then furthermore you have a little diagram where it says A and B go together, and then you put those two pieces together, and then throughout the class, each person or each group of say 2 or 3 students has a task, and as those tasks come together, the kids end up building a fort. And within that construction, they've united. They've come together to see an end product in a short period of time. They've practiced reading and math and physics all at once, all in one project. And those types of things are happening everywhere. I mean, I've looked on the internet and you can find all sorts of cool things like table and chair sets and stuff that dads can build with their kids, or like trikes that dads can build with their kids, or don't want to just say dads, that's pretty sexist, moms can do it too, but I'm a dad, so I guess that's why I talk that way. However, we got master builders everywhere, man. You seen the Lego movie? You're Emmett, and you're a master builder, and you need to create something because it's building up inside you. And it's building up inside these young people at a rapid rate. And all we're doing is saying, don't touch this, don't do that, don't do this, sit in the corner if you don't listen to the rules. And yes, we need rules, we need kids to listen, we need them to pay attention and respect their elders, 100%. However, if we don't respect them and we're saying no and we're yelling at them, I know this from first-hand experience because I've failed as a father in the past and I'm trying my hardest to never do it again. If we don't respect them, how can we expect them to respect us? So we need to get educated. We need to realize that we are hands-on people. We can't just sit there repeating things over and over and over again and expect to actually remember them. If we're bored and uninterested, we're not going to remember. If our teacher has a monotone voice and is standing at the front of the class reading from a textbook, writing the same thing you can read in your textbook on the chalkboard, then you're not going to learn. You're going to be thinking of other things. You're going to be doing other things in your mind so that you're prepped for later on tonight when you get home and you get personal time. You want people to be motivated, you need motivated leaders. You need teachers who can teach by doing. Imagine having a 3D mannequin of the human body. You can have this in different phases. You can have the kindergarten version, the grade 1 through 3 version, the grade 4 through 6 version, and the high school version. Right on into, college, university, where you're actually dissecting humans or whatever. That sounds a little twisted. So yeah, having a 3D mannequin of a human body in these different phases will allow young people to understand their anatomy at an early stage in life. So I've seen all kinds of these mannequins all over the place, but not implemented in a classroom. Having young people understand their anatomy is very important because then they can start feeling inside of themselves and deciding, on their own, what is happening inside their body. Furthermore, you allow young people to take apart a human body and put it back together in a puzzle, obviously not a real human body, but in a puzzle, then you're going to have doctors, at a young age, tons of them, all over the world. And we're looking for that right now. By bringing science into the classroom, at grade 1, grade 2 levels, you're going to have scientists. I have one child who is super interested in telescopes and microscopes, and she's only in grade 2. The time spent educating these kids, not just in, what they can be when they grow up, but like how to deal with day-to-day happenings, that is the most important. And if it's not available in the schools, which, like I said, my kids are lucky, they're at a school where the teachers are keen, they're clearly spiritually connected. Actually, 2 or 3 specific that are coming to my mind, they know how to teach. They know how to get into the minds of the young people and guide them towards understanding themselves. And that's where education needs to go. We need to help people guide themselves. And furthermore, guide one another. And if they can be in touch with those inner feelings, with those understandings of collective unity and sharing, like just sharing your toys, sharing tools, sharing thoughts, feelings. Once they start being able to articulate what's happening in their body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and sharing that with one another, then all of a sudden this community unity feeling is going to arise. It's going to show up in capacities that we could have never imagined. So, like, to go back to the 3D mannequin of a human body, like, the movie industry shows us that we're there, like, with latex and with all these different oil-based products, we can make organs, we can use different threading and stuff to make the nervous system, we can do all kinds of different things to make these, really state-of-the-art humanoid puzzles for people to deconstruct and reconstruct. And, physically show people what it is that is happening inside their body. And we need to know, like on an emotional level especially, because the rise of fear can turn into so many inappropriate reactions, and we feel remorse for so long because of these reactions. So in bringing, multiple understandings of spirituality into younger grades, not just in Catholic schools, like in public schools too, like to understand the importance of treating everyone as an equal. And I know I went to a public school, they practice that. My kids go to a Catholic school, they practice that. But it transcends language. Like, you can't just use words. You can't just tell people what to do. You actually have to do it and have games that show them how to do it so that they can learn. Same as, like, going back to the building thing. Like, you can teach language, math, and physics all in one project. And lots of people are trying to develop these projects, and hopefully they will be implemented in schools. Currently, education is becoming open source. I love it. I love having open source information because you can learn anything, like at the strike of a key. And lots of people are using YouTube to learn how to do things that they may have otherwise not known how to do. And thank God for those others who are showing us what they can do on YouTube so that we can learn on the other end. It's amazing. And having open source information in all capacities is just like broadening our horizons. It's allowing us to be able to achieve goals that were once, far in the distance. But now they're available at our fingertips. Talking also about people, who have worked in industries for, say, 20 years and are back in the education system. A lot of them are struggling. They are not learning at the rates that the education system expects us to learn. My old man, he got hurt up in the fracking reserve. He was working there for money, even though he doesn't believe in fracking. And I'm with him. I think that fracking is ignorant. We won't go there today. That'll be another podcast. But he got hurt, and WSIB put him through school. Now he's going through school, and he's expected to learn from teachers in college who aren't actually teachers, right? Like some teachers in college are teachers, but a lot of them are just experienced people who have worked in different industries, which is awesome. We need that. You want people who actually know the industry to be your teacher, but some of them can't teach. His issue today was that the teacher wasn't in class. He was up in his office marking for another class, but that was the 2-hour time period that he was supposed to be dedicating to his class. But he said, okay, you guys work on your project, I'm going to my office to mark tests or whatever. That is not teaching. That is not participating in your community. Your community is your class, and they're there looking for guidance. So, first of all, because my old man was like a business owner, he was a well-renowned structural steel designer as well as builder. He knows a lot of things firsthand, but the new physics that he's taking, and I believe it's aerospace engineering, like blows his mind. The formulas and like different stuff that he has to remember is just beyond his capacity. Him, as well as a lot of other people, worked in a mill in Dryden where there's these fumes, and they didn't realize until years after that the fumes were affecting their memory, creating long-term and short-term memory loss, forming some sort of film around the mind and stuff. He wasn't affected as much as some guys, but he's affected in the memory category, and he can't retain things fast, and the school does not cater to that. Yes, some teachers and some people in student success have helped him, but there's no program set up or systems that allow people in that scenario, which they're becoming more and more of them, especially rising out of the industrial ages. Like, so many things were done wrong in manufacturers' plants that people were physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually affected in ways that they may never redeem. So now the education system has to adhere to that, and we need to allow people to streamline themselves at their rate through a system, not by chasing a clock and trying to achieve and memorizing as much as they can to put on a piece of paper that they're probably going to forget later, after the test happens. They need to do it in practice. And we see this with young people nowadays too. We can't just keep forcing people to memorize things. We have to allow them to practice. We are a hands-on species. Yes, our minds are capable of memory, and a lot of people have great memories. I'm participating in a play right now, and the narrator/director blows my mind. Buddy has the entire play memorized inside and out. Everybody's line, he can recite them all with the emotion that he wants. It blows my mind. It's amazing, but not all people have his capabilities, his skills. Some people have been affected through industries and need the chance to be able to better themselves at their own rate. The clock doesn't dictate everything. Yes, we go based around revolutions of the sun, but we have created time, and it's not connected with our inner clock. Our inner clock does not adhere to this. We should be respectful. We should wake up in a good time, and we should go to school or work or the meetings that we have to, so that we respect all the people who respect that idea. However, especially in industrial settings, say shift work, even with colleges and universities, some of the classes are like stretched out, or they start here and they end there, and then you leave for 4 hours, you come back at this time. They're like, things are so spread out, and you're expected to fit so much in to such a small portion of time that a lot of people become frustrated, and their abilities to educate themselves or participate in the industry that they are being funded by, employed by, those abilities become less and less. Their skills begin to taper off, and their energy for participation begins to dissipate. And if we don't allow our systems to shift in a way that caters to all kinds of learning, then we're only going to continue to pursue a world of unmotivated, incapable human havings. And the reason I say that is because I heard this one guy's speech. It was awesome. And he said that we're human beings, not human havings. And today, our sole purpose is to have things. We want to have everything. We want to even own our spouses and our children. We want them to listen to us and to do the things that we want them to do when we want them to do it. And that, as far as I'm concerned, comes directly from our current education system. Our education system has been passed down to us through a form of dictatorship. We are constantly being told what to do. And I get it. Like I said, we'll talk about religion. I'm not really a religious person, but I'm very spiritual these days, and that's why I keep bringing religion back into these podcasts, is because it's not something that's widely talked about, at least not in my rings of people. A few circles, they like to talk about it, and I love talking with those people. Not that I don't love talking with the other groups of people too, because there's always great things to talk about in different groups, right? That's the whole point of kind of being part of different groups of friends. However, because there's a voice inside of all of our minds, if we don't articulate that voice and present it into the masses, then we can't expect these grandiose ideas to come to life. We can't expect social change to take place unless we socialize. And it's complicated. I get it. Like, me being a computer guy, I guess, like, I'm not super awesome at computers, but I know how to film things and edit them. I spend a lot of time behind a computer by myself. So I have to reintegrate all the time. I have to find myself within each group of people. And sometimes it takes minutes. Sometimes it takes hours. Sometimes it takes like 3 times of hanging out before I go, okay, this is how I can talk to these people. And it's hard to find your place in that reality. And if you are antisocial and you haven't trained yourself to express, then it begins to become almost like a jaded feeling. You become very judgmental. And I've been there plenty of times, and I don't like it. And that's been some of the reasons why I've separated myself from some of the people I love. And that's my own fault. However, that's not what we're talking about today. We're back on education. So, because self-education is becoming so prevalent, and we know that we can basically learn anything we want to learn if we put our minds and hearts to it, we can now see that it's important to have these streamlines everywhere, like all the way from, say, grade 1, straight through college into university. Like, it should almost be like a thing where, you do kindergarten, get all your basics, learn how to be nice to people, learn how to share, learn how to say the ABCs and sing and dance and act and build. And then you move on beyond that, and you go, which areas do I like? But with these streamlines, you need bridges, because you need to cross paths. Because lots of people want to be multifaceted. They want to be disciplined in multiple areas. And that's cool. Like, we should embrace that. We should allow people to be educated in every capacity so that we have super capable people. But this isn't happening yet. Yes, in some countries, education is free. But as far as I understand, based on what I've researched and heard, through the grapevine, is they are still functioning as a dictatorship, where there's one person at the front of the class telling you who to be and how to be that person. And don't get me wrong, some of those teachers are amazing. They're funny. They're great to listen to. And we need to keep a form of that alive. But we also need, especially in the younger grades, the assistance. We need more teachers available to help guide smaller groups of people and to help assess them. But they need to feel equal as well. Like, you can't have the ECUs getting paid less than the teachers. You have to have maybe parent volunteers, but I think also parents should get some sort of monetary refund for participating too, because having a parent involved, especially say the kid's troubled and the parent doesn't know what to do, having that parent involved in the education system will give them education as to how to deal with their own child. And other children. Like, we need to see each other interact in order for us to grow. And right now, we've set the stage for, like mentioned before, like a segregated community in a lot of capacities, especially in Canada. Like, you basically do what you got to do to participate, then go to your box and, make sure it's clean or whatever, play your video games or eat some food, whatever it is. Like, a lot of people love exercise. I'm leaving that out, and I'm kind of focusing on the negative in this current talk. And that's only because I feel like if you don't talk about some of the negative stuff, then how do you bring light, right? Like, if you don't understand the dark, then how can there be light? So we need to somehow allow people to understand that by coming together and allowing a community to educate a community, we become whole. And thankfully, I see that on the rise everywhere. It's like we're living on the horizon line. The sun is just peeking over that line, and we are seeing the light everywhere. We know what we have to do. It's just a matter of getting that open source education out there, allowing people to understand that they can grow at their own rate, they can evolve, at their own capacity, and actually implementing that into the education system. Streamlining people right into their areas of interest so that they can become the best possible human they can become. And the only way to do that is to bind together, to realize the importance of raising these children, to stop, not immediately stop participating in this segregated structure, but to bridge the gaps in our own capacity in the way that we can. Like, how can you bridge the gaps? How can you make it so that your teacher understands you and is consciously aware of what the teacher needs to do to help you as the student rise above and beyond what's holding you back. In a lot of cases, the student teaches the teacher. I mean, I've been a teacher before. I've went around to a bunch of different First Nations reserves. I love teaching there because the students are always super creative. I've encountered a few who just don't want to go to school, don't want to do anything, but there's always a way around that because you just find interest. You find a way to communicate with them and relate to them, and then all of a sudden you see they're actually interested in this. It's just how I talk to them. But in being a teacher, I've learned from so many students. I taught Photoshop once. It's not that I'm this amazing Photoshopper or anything, but I know the basics, so I was able to teach a beginner's class. And in teaching that class, a student started showing me things. Started saying, hey, if you do this way, then you get this effect. All of a sudden, I'm leaving the class with more knowledge. I go back to the class the next week, and I'm asking my student questions. Next thing you know, he's showing kids in the class, and I wasn't jealous. I wasn't offended in any way. I was so happy for this guy. I'm like, wow, it's so true. Like, we learn from each other. It's not just the dictator at the front of the room. You have just as much knowledge and understanding inside of yourself. So don't be jealous or jaded about your teacher. Don't get mad at your teacher. Just explain to your teacher how you feel. And if your teacher's not helping you, then maybe you do need to go above the teacher and talk to the dean or the principal or whatever it is in your situation. You have to somehow figure out how you can share your knowledge. And that's how the world becomes whole. We have to share things. We have to share our information, our understandings, so that everyone has a fair chance. And in order to, go above and beyond the segregated lifestyle that has been kind of pushed onto us, through generations of old, we got to create these ideas and teach each other. We have to share our thoughts, our feelings, our understandings, and educate one another. So I hope I didn't confuse you. I hope this was an educational talk. Thank you for listening to AudioVision. Catch you later.